So if I was playing against like Indez, for instance, he would be thinking that I am thinking that it's probably a defensive round for him, and he probably wouldn't want to defend because he knows I'm thinking that it's a defensive round for him. What's going on, Axie fam? Elijah here, back with another video, and today is going to be a blast from the past as we walk down memory lane of V2. So here's the situation. We know that Origins is going to be coming out with Phase 2, which will have updated cards, runes, charms, basically like a whole new game, because they have now implemented this thing called Energy Boost. I'm sure many of you have tested it out. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense right now with, Nemo's doing what they did before, which is gain energy, and you actually benefit from that and get to your boost faster the more energy you spend. That's just one example of where it doesn't really add up at this point, but that's why we're gonna have Phase 2. Now, a lot of people aren't too happy about that because, we just have to wait. But personally, I'm very excited to see what comes with Phase 2. Now, something interesting has happened as we're all in limbo here and don't really have a season or a game to play that's very fun. And that's that V2, it's just showing up. Like Kuju here says, it looks like V2 is everywhere. I don't even want to play it. Are people really queuing? So Kuju, not really particularly interested, but he's addressing that a lot of people are. And I said they are because I was playing V2 at the time and getting matches no problem. Hasheki says so many people. Wumden shows up and says he's playing, it's fun. And I said it makes you think. So today, I just want to look at a couple of V2 games that I played and perhaps dissect, whether or not it's a better game than Origins. I mean, in answering that question, it's kind of difficult because Origins has helped in a lot of ways with the economy in Axie. People are buying runes and charms, they're burning SLP, everyone's excited and wants to compete, right? I will say, I think many people got burnt out in Season 1. We all spent so much money and then there was just one meta at the end dominating the leaderboard, like 80% was just Beast Bug, which kind of sucks. Now what's been great is in V2, I'm playing all these different comps, playing against a bunch of different stuff, and it's just nostalgic, like this game was so special. One thing that hurts is like, I truly feel like Sky Mavis, they never really gave this game, I don't know, it's hard to say. Like, I know that they feel great about where it got them in this growth of Axie and all that, but it's sort of always felt like they never actually thought there was people playing this for real that really loved it. I mean, probably because they were so focused on Origins, which I understand, but like we had a real thing. We had a good thing going here with V2. And I know that, it depends on who you talk to. Some people are just like love Origins and they're really into it. And then other people kind of like it, but they're frustrated with kind of how things are right now. I probably fall into that category. But I'm optimistic for the future. However, there's something about a game being around for as many seasons as V2 was and getting to be, quite balanced, all things considered, and the depth and richness, but there's also just certain things about the game mechanics that I think has Origins really outmatched, just in terms of a fun strategic game, at least maybe more my style. I'm into the whole bluffing component. I come from poker, so maybe it's accustomed to me a little more. But let's just jump into a game real quick and talk about it, right? And see kind of how it plays differently from Origins. So first of all, we all know that we can retain cards, we can hard pass and store up energy. This immediately gives a level of depth that Origin does not have. In Origins, you simply have to use the amount of energy you have, which makes your options quite narrow. If you only have 3 every time, then it's pretty easy to find your pathway once you get the hang of your comp. Now, here, opponent leads with 3 energy, Carrot, Sirius, and Beach. Takes a big hit on my plant. And I passed. I did not have a great move in round 1. Makes sense for me to kind of go all out here with my plant, especially because he does have double talk, which can bypass my shield. So I'm really just, hoping to get max value. I have 2 cattails here, which is amazing. I'm gonna draw a boatload of cards, heal up a little bit, get the cactus in, plus tap him a little with some cattails. So we're both gonna go to 2 energy. Of course, counting energy is kind of tedious. It does add another layer of concentration though, as well as counting cards. There's no, history to see what your opponent played. I think these were things that could have got added in though. An energy counter, card counter. If we built upon V2 and we wanted it to be more mainstream, could have, implemented something that made those things less of an annoyance. However, there's an appreciation to it at the same time in terms of the beauty, the raw beauty of Classic, if you will. So I'm actually gonna get this sandal value off here, and this is really, I think, the round that I wanted to highlight in this game. So now let's just take a look at, a situation you're not really gonna come across in Origins ever, which is my midliner is under a lot of threat. I have 3 energy, I can egg and taunt on my back line. I know he has 3 energy as well, but I also know he has a post-fight bird, which can do free damage. So do I really wanna sacrifice my bird here and then try to prepare for my bug in a 1v2 situation since this is an immortal bug? Do I want to play bug cards and try and survive this attack? I think intuitively, if you took a lot of beginner players in V2 or Origins where they're just, where you just play your cards, right? You probably would lean toward playing your bird cards and maybe a snail here, or playing your egg perhaps. There's like a lot of choices, and I think that maybe the play that I made wouldn't be the thing people find the most often, and that's why I wanted to share this, because I think that the very best play in this situation is snail shell double mosquito. And I actually am looking at my win con and realizing, he has a beast part on his backline bird. I don't. So sacrificing the bird here isn't really the favorable end game for me. A lot of the times it would be, because the bug is so good against dusks and reptiles and other teams, plants for instance, and it can even be good against birds, but not really a double talk bird. And why force that when I can try to play around it and get to an end game where if it's a 1v1, I'm always gonna win. And that's why I decided to defend and just play both mosquitoes, and we can go ahead and see how that plays out. So he's gonna actually gets stunned here from the blackmail, so I take no damage from post-fight, which is fantastic, and then he gets big beast damage in here on the dusk he's using. I'm down to 141, but here comes those mosquitoes on a dusk body. The other, great reason for playing them there is that I get the bonus damage versus dusks, and I'm back up to 357 HP. So I'm feeling extremely good about how that round went, and now it's an easy game. I even get the crit for the fun of it, dust off the mid, and it's a win. And I think that a lot of people there, might not find that. It's one of the more nuanced things of it feels sort of good to just use your bird cards in that situation. A minor detail and an example of the things that I quite enjoy about V2. So let's take a look at one more game. A very interesting looking triple plant build from my opponent here. He does have 2 steals. He's got the disable on Kestrel on his back line. This is probably a low MMR looking team as I just started climbing the ladder. But we had some interesting moments for sure. Now, different from last game, I decided to play all 3 plant cards round 1 because he has 2 steals, one on the mid and on the front. Sirius is just way more likely, so I'm gonna play all my energy and get big damage in on the front line. I'm following up here with 2 more damage cards from my plant. I eliminate his front. Now I'm in a tricky spot because I've depleted so many of my resources. I only have 2 energy, but I am up 1 Axie, which is nice. And I think clearly pass here to store up and have a better play or better options in the following round makes sense. He goes with insane damage here. And now we're going into round 4. And again, this comes down to what I have seen and what I haven't seen. No carrots from the midline so far. And because I don't have to spend all my energy, I have the option to consider a hard pass here or some alternative, which I would not have the option to do in Origins. I would feel like I'm losing value. I can't lose just a 3 energy turn. Yes, I can return cards, which we've seen people do, and that's probably the closest that you can get in terms of Origins to, buying time or maneuvering around your opponent in some ways. But it's not quite the same, and it really only works for those big combo teams, right? Like beasts. And otherwise, you just gotta do what you gotta do, even if it's gonna have some negative repercussions towards you sometimes. So here in V2, I haven't seen any carrots. I also haven't seen a hermit from him, which is a high shield card. I know he's got 3 energy, and even though I have all this damage in my hand, it's not a round where I expect to be under threat, especially after seeing all those beasts cards from my opponent. It's a round where I can safely bet on fairly high defenses for him. So if I was playing against Indez, for instance, he would be thinking that I am thinking that it's probably a defensive round for him, and he probably wouldn't want to defend because he knows I'm thinking that it's a defensive round for him. These are the types of things that you do not have in Origins that make this game so exciting and fun to watch. I mean, at AxieCon, I'll be honest, I enjoyed watching Classic more than Origins. It was insane. Both were insane, don't get me wrong, but the thing with V2, I mean, it was just so unpredictable and wild and exciting. The crowd was on the edge of their seat all the time. So, what do I decide to do here? I figured in the end that single egg is probably the best play because surely he will have more shield than just the 2 carrots. That seems very likely. And then also whatever damage he throws, I can make it useless for him by having it go to my bird. And I can feel pretty confident that the single egg won't break these carrots and give him the extra energy. And luckily he does play his beach here as well. He almost just played the 2 carrots, but this worked out really well for me because I'm just gonna be under breaking that shield. He's not getting that value back and my bird is gonna take the damage. I do end up dying here, which was a bit of a miscalculation. I thought I would live, and then in this following round I draw only bird cards, which really sucks because my plan here was to have the bird get chipped away at, fully sack it later, you know, stock up on my bug, and now I'm, you know, behind on my bug cards versus these 2 plants. So I've got some work ahead of me, but I do think that that was a very solid play in that situation. And we can go ahead and speed this one up to wrap it up. It's gonna be a little back and forth. Ends up being actually quite a close game, but in the end we pull it off even with him having Kestrel. And here it's gonna be very, very close, but he misses to the snail. We heal up, and now in a 1v1 plant versus bug in Blood Moon, we know that's never really gonna end well for the plant. And so these are just a couple of scenarios. Obviously, I didn't really get a lot of high volume in playing V2. I just got back into it. A lot of things feel really foreign after playing a lot of Origins, but I figured I would share this and hear from you guys as well. How are your feelings about Classic versus Origins? I know that Origins is due for some huge upgrades. I think it's gonna be good. I'm very excited to see what those are, but it's been cool to notice that even though there's no rewards, there's no tournaments, there's nothing, people still want to fire up Classic and play for that nostalgia because they purely enjoy it and throw it on a stream, and I just love to see that. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Love you guys. Catch you in the next one. Peace.